So Sao Vicente historically was the first city of Brazil, and I'm from the Williamsburg, Jamestown area, so that's like the first city of the U.S. So it was kind of cool to be able to serve in the counterpart of my city in Brazil. I've heard that there's another city up in the northeastern part of the country that also stakes its claim as the first city. But I served in Sao Vicente, and they had all the signs there claiming it. All the buses have like the big number one and the symbol for first painted on the side. So I'm just going to go with that because that's what I know, that it was the first. It's a beautiful city. It's pretty urbanized. Lots of the cities in Brazil, you just have these big high-rise apartments, these big buildings, and that's a pretty good trademark to see the cities. I remember flying into Brazil, flying into Sao Paulo. It was just the craziest thing, just all these huge, tall buildings just kind of spaced out where people lived. Sao Vicente, or most of the cities in the Santos Mission, there's the actual city part. Then you move a bit further out, and there's the poorer parts of the cities. Those are called the favelas, which are kind of like the ghettos. And then a bit further out from there, you get a few suburban areas. Sao Vicente has a lot of industry. It's way commercialized. There are a few shopping malls that are there, and a few other just businesses where people work. So the actual central part of the city is really beautiful. It's funny, they have I guess the city contracted out the bus systems to some third-party contractor. So all the buses are these short, or they're kind of bigger minivans with the sliding doors on the side. And so there's a driver and then there's a caller. So each bus gets its profits commission-based of how many people to get on it. And so they really just try to cram them full of people. So they're driving down the street, calling for people. They're calling out the bus routes. So if people are going that way, they can get them on and go off to the next. And they're always trying to have people move to the back of the bus so that they can get some more people on. Kind of crazy drivers. So it was definitely a lot of fun every time we had to take those buses anywhere. So I was serving in one of the more suburban parts, Rio Branco. So it was a bit outside of the center of Sao Vicente. And so we would go in for zone conferences every now and then, and it was always a lot of fun. If we ever had to pick something up that wasn't, from a grocery store, we would go into the center of the city and buy it there. Had to go there to get a new pair of shoes one time, and it was way cool. So something that lots of missionaries do while they're in Sao Vicente is they go and ride the Teleferico, which is kind of just like a ski lift that'll take you from the beach. The entrance is just right in front of the beach on the boardwalk, and so you get on, and it takes you up this big mountain, small or big hill, mini mountain, and it's a beautiful view. You can see all of Sao Vicente, and if you look to the other side, you see a ton of Santos. This hill is just right on the dividing point, so it's a great place to stand on the top and look off and see on both sides and see the two different cities. And then you can look out in the ocean, look around, see the mountains. So missionaries would usually do that. And there you can get ice cream up at the top, just kind of stand around and look for a bit. I remember when we went up, there was lots of people, what they do is they have those hang gliding things or paragliding things. So they would set the kite up and they would get it up in the air and just run and jump off the hill and just float around the city, around the ocean, come back around. And it was way cool to watch. I remember I got a video the day we went of, I don't know what it's called. I guess it's called paragliding. But it was just the craziest thing to watch him get the kite up in the air and just run and jump off a cliff. And he's sitting he's rocking back in this chair, this backpack where the thing had been stored in before. It converted into kind of this like rocking chair type thing, cradle that he was sitting in. And it was like the craziest thing I had ever seen. He just went and ran and jumped off a cliff. And we watched him just kind of float around, wondering how much control he really had over it, if he was going to land on top of a building or go way out to sea. But there were a few other people doing it, and we just stood and watched him for a little bit. It was way cool. And also in Sao Vicente, there's a little plaza that has a few historical housing where you could go in and look in it, and it talks about the indigenous people when they lived there, the Indians, Native Americans, what their lifestyle was like. I didn't go do that personally. Some other missionaries I knew went and did it, and they said it was interesting just to get a little preview of what the lifestyle was like back before the Portuguese came over and settled in Brazil. There's also this public drinking fountain where it's free water, and there's a little legend that whoever drinks the waters there from Sao Vicente, they're destined to go back and visit one day. And it's funny because when I went and drank the water from there was right before transfers and where I left to go to Praia Grande, and just immediately jumped right back to Sao Vicente. So I'm hoping that wasn't my return trip, because I would love to go back and visit again someday. Maybe I should have got another water bottle and took it with me just for after I left to make sure, to guarantee that I would go back someday. But it was way cool.